I know it's only been 3 weeks, but the Panthers defense is not just on a great pace right now, they're on a historically great pace. Like better than any defense has ever done in the history of the league type pace. And that's probably why you guys voted over on the Patreon to do this episode this week on the Panthers defense, because you want to know how it works. Though, I will say that this episode ended up turning into a little bit of a monster, so I'm splitting it into 2 parts, and you're actually getting 2 Panthers episodes this week. Part 1, which is this part, is going to be on their incredible, again, historically good run defense. And part 2, obviously, is going to be on their passing defense, more notably their pass rush, which has been equally ridiculous in the first 3 weeks. We're going to go over alignment, technique, some of the fronts they like to use, all that kind of stuff. It's really a fascinating defense to study for a lot of different reasons, to be honest. But with that being said, thank you to everyone who voted for this episode topic over on the Patreon. And if you want to vote for the next topic that I cover, there's still a poll running right now over on the Patreon that's going to close on Friday, I believe. Doesn't matter how much you give to the Patreon. It can be any amount of money. I don't really have a tier system or anything like that. You just give whatever you want to. But all patrons can vote in that poll for the next topic. Again, that poll is running through Friday. Thank you to everybody who already voted and donated. I really would not be able to do this without you. So from there, let's roll the intro, which this week is going to be the best damn maple old fashioned you've ever had in your life. I guarantee it. It really is that good. And then we'll dive into this film. When it comes to base personnel grouping, meaning 3 down defensive linemen, 4 linebackers, and 4 DBs, and by the way, that is usually the personnel grouping that you're going to see on the field on early run-oriented downs and distances, the first thing that you need to know about this Panthers 3-4 is that they don't necessarily have a main alignment that they use the vast majority of the time. They're very versatile in terms of how they line up, and they're going to use a huge variety of fronts from this personnel grouping. But that being said, it is at least evident that they prefer to set their 3-technique defensive tackle to the offensive strength of the formation. And to me, it seems like they really like living in that quasi 3-4 overfront kind of world, meaning the 3-technique is usually going to be covering up the guard to the side of the offense where the tight end is lined up. In instances where there's 2 tight ends on the field and there's one of them to each side so the strength of the offense is balanced, they'll usually split the difference by setting the 3-technique to the field side, or what some call the wide side of the field, because there's more space to operate for an offense on that side, so they want to cover up the guard over there to help limit the space available for the run. Now, beyond where the 3-technique lines up, which is obviously really important, one consistent theme with this defense in a lot of their fronts that they use is what's called a cocked nose or a tilted nose tackle technique. The tilted nose technique has been around for decades and was popularized by Mean Joe Green himself back in the 70s, and it's a great alignment for helping a nose tackle to either penetrate into the backfield through a double team on gap scheme runs, or even more relevant today, it's a great technique against zone running games because it puts the nose tackle at a very difficult angle for the offensive line to zone block effectively. For instance, on runs going away from the tilted nose towards the strong side of the offensive formation, that tilted alignment allows the nose to easily flow with the direction of the run and to keep himself from getting cut off by the backside guard. And with that backside cutoff being such an important component of almost all zone run concepts, if the tilted nose can defeat that specific block, it makes it super easy to fill the cutback lane and to make the tackle on the ball carrier right at the line of scrimmage, which of course is exactly what happened right here. That's not the only good use for a tilted nose tackle though, because on runs going towards the weak side of the offensive formation, right into that nose, Again, the tilted alignment points him directly at the near shoulder of the center, which makes it extremely difficult for the center to reach block him and move him off the line of scrimmage. Without that reach block at least gaining a little bit of ground and giving the running back some room to look for a crease, the tilted nose can just push the center into the backfield and once again completely choke off the cutback lane for the tackle. The tilted nose is truly one of the most crucial positions for this entire Panthers defense because it sets the table for everyone else to do their jobs. And that is precisely why Carolina has made a massive investment at the defensive tackle position to make sure that they have no fewer than 4 guys that can play that role. Beyond the nose tackle spot, though, another hallmark part of this defense when they're in base personnel is the weak side defensive end position, usually played by Morgan Fox or Yetur Gross-Matos. This weak side defensive end spot is typically either going to line up as a 5 technique head up on the offensive tackle or even slightly on the outside shoulder of the tackle, or it will line up as a 4-eye technique on the inside shoulder of the tackle, or even in some circumstances, he'll play a 6 technique over the tight end all the way on the outside if it's a balanced formation, or if there's something like a fullback in the backfield as mentioned before. It's a very flexible position in terms of alignment, and they ask a lot of both Fox and Gross-Matos in all of these different types of fronts. But that 4-eye alignment in particular, which is on the inside shoulder of the offensive tackle, that is probably the most important alignment out of all of them because playing that 4-eye spot effectively gives this entire front 7 a lot more adaptability in terms of how they handle certain run schemes, and it helps to keep the linebackers as clean as possible to fly around and just chase the ball. For instance, on calls going to the weak side with the run action going towards the direction of Morgan Fox, the 4-eye alignment makes it very easy to win on the outside shoulder of the guard and to hold that front side B gap while the nose tackle also holds the front side A gap, which then of course usually forces cutbacks all the way into the linebackers and safeties on the backside that can just play cleanup duty. When runs go that direction, it's very much a position that sets up the pins so that others can knock them down. However, on strong side runs going away from the 4-eye, that's where things get even more interesting because now the 4-eye is expected to be the playmaker and knock down those pins for everyone else. It's not just all about soaking up blocks in that role all the time, even though it is a 3-4 defensive end position. It's a lot more flexible than that. Keep in mind that if Fox were lined up as a 5 technique, like in a traditional 3-4 that you're all probably thinking of right about now, it would be extremely difficult for him to be a playmaker on runs going the other way because the tackle could just step across his near hip and cut him off. But again, as a 4-eye now and not a 5 technique, he's just far enough inside that he has the advantage on the tackle going back the other way now, and it's a very difficult block for the tackle to make to cut him all the way off in a zone run. That angle is just extremely hard to dig out. Beyond just being more difficult to cut off against zone though, I think my favorite aspect of Fox being that weak side 4-eye is how he can completely blow up power runs that go the other way. And he does that by doing what defensive line coaches call stealing gaps. On this power call from the Jets back in week 1, for example, look at the incredible play that Fox makes here. If you're just looking at the design of this run on a whiteboard, the Jets absolutely should have outgapped the Panthers on the front side of this run. Again, by design, they were going to get a hat on a hat all across the board. The wide tight end was going to work backside to the will, the move tight end was going to kick out the front side edge, the guard was going to pull through to eliminate the mic, and the down blocks from the front side of the line was going to open up the other side of a literal canyon in the defense. It was all perfectly drawn up. You can even see right as Michael Carter is about to hit the line of scrimmage just how big that hole would have been on film. But you can also see Morgan Fox somehow appearing out of nowhere in that hole despite lining up as the 4-eye all the way over on the backside. Which sounds crazy. I mean, how did he know to do that? How did he suddenly change the math in this run fit to blow this play up basically out of left field? Well, it was no accident because, as you can imagine, it goes back once again to the philosophy of stealing gaps, which is not a new idea, by the way, it's been around forever, but the Panthers just happen to be really, really good at it. Follow me close on this because I know it's a little bit hard to see, but because Fox is lined up ostensibly in the B gap as a B gap defender, he has the freedom to read what is called a pull key on that left guard. So when he sees that left guard pull to the front side of the play right off the snap, he is allowed to step back away from that B-gap responsibility and scrape all the way over the top of the line with that pulling guard to follow the play. He doesn't need to just throw himself into the backside B-gap for no reason, because odds are that gap is going to be clogged up with bodies anyway, which of course it is here, and he can just go make himself useful elsewhere by stealing back a gap for the defense on the front side. That is how he seemingly appeared in that hole out of nowhere. It was not just pure instinct, that is just literally how the Panthers coaches teach him to read and react to pulling guards. And that technique, that coaching point if you will, is honestly the only thing that turned what could have been a game-breaking run for the Jets into just another 1-yard gain. Overall, when you look at this run defense, it really is the nose tackle, the 3 technique, and the weak side defensive ends like Morgan Fox and Gross Matos that set the tone as a group, because they're the ones constantly stealing those gaps just like that and making big plays inside. Everyone else's success on this unit, in one way or another, does rely on those 3 doing their jobs. That's just a matter of fact. But that being said, the other 8 guys on this defense are no slouches either, and they've all been phenomenal so far in their own roles as well. The edge rotation with Brian Burns, Hassan Reddick, and Frankie Louvu all make tons of plays every single week. They set really hard edges, they routinely get 2-for-1s and disrupt blocking schemes all by themselves, and they allow the rest of this defense to clean up those messes that they create. The inside linebackers, especially Shaq Thompson, have taken advantage of being clean most of the time, and they fly to the ball on every play to rack up big numbers. And even the DBs have gotten in on the action and made a lot of crucial tackles in space, oftentimes for really big losses at that, which to me is honestly the biggest indicator of them all that you have a really good run defense, because if even your corners and safeties are making huge plays and they're not actively a weakness for you against the ground game, your defense as a whole is probably pretty damn good. There is a lot of talent on this defense. There's a lot of speed and aggressiveness, obviously. But truth be told, what impresses me the most about them on film is just how well coached they are, how technically disciplined and instinctive they are, and how well they play together as a team. There's very few mistakes, everyone just does their job, and the communication has been pretty good across the board as well. It does not look like these guys have been only playing together for a few months. It looks like they've all been playing together for like half a decade. And that cohesion really shows up, especially when it comes to fitting the run. They are on a historic pace right now, only allowing about 45 yards per game on the ground, and they haven't allowed a single team to even crack 50 yards total. If that pace even sorta kinda almost holds up for the rest of the year, they're still going to be talked about among the greatest run defenses literally ever. To put it into context, the 2000 Ravens allowed 970 total rushing yards in a 16-game season, and they are widely considered to be the best rushing defense that we ever saw in the modern era. Again, at a 45 yard per game pace, which in all likelihood they're not going to hold that pace the entire year, but if they did, let's just speculate and say they did, they would beat that Ravens record by 200 yards while playing an extra game. That is how flat out absurd this Panthers run defense has been. I'm not kidding. Pay attention to this Panthers team, because even if they fall off and only perform at like 80% of this level for the rest of the year, they're still going to be considered one of the best run defenses of the last 2 decades. That is how historic they are. However, believe it or not, the Panthers' run defense, for as good as it is still not even the most entertaining part of this defense to watch. It's actually the pass defense, specifically the pass rush, that really pays the bills around there. They are just as good on third downs as they are on first downs. So I'm going to break down all of the nitty-gritty details on how the Panthers pass rush operates on the very next episode. So I'll see you back here on Thursday, or possibly very early Friday, depending on your time zone. And you know how I work. I just release stuff at random times anyway. So we'll see when it comes out. But suffice to say, I'm working on it. You'll see it very soon. But before we go anywhere, I do want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor that helped to make this first part possible in the first place, and that is Hawthorne. They've been a great partner with me for a very long time, and I could not thank them enough for supporting me today. And if you're not familiar with Hawthorne already, what they are is a premium tailored men's grooming company that is all about matching men to their ideal grooming products based on their body chemistry and their lifestyle. All you have to do is just take a quick quiz online at Hawthorne's website where they're going to ask you questions about your type of hair, your type of skin, your preferences for fragrance, what you like to do for fun, and of course, even your favorite drink. And they'll come up with a personalized list of products from their catalog that fits your needs. And from there, you can pick whichever ones you want and which ones you don't. You're going to have options for basically anything you could ever need, from deodorants to moisturizers and shampoos and conditioners and obviously colognes too. And to be honest, as weird as this sounds, those colognes are actually some of my favorite things they offer because they're just not too overbearing. Like, I'm not even kidding, they are some of my favorite colognes that I have in my entire collection, and I have a lot of them, because of that balance that they strike between smelling good, but also not being the only thing that people smell in the entire room. If you take the quiz yourself and you decide that there are some products you want to try, Hawthorne also takes all of the risk out of it too, because you're going to get free shipping on your order and on any returns. And if you don't like your products, they'll even retailer them for you based on your feedback, which is also going to be completely free. Hawthorne is a great company. I've worked with them for a long time. I really love their products. And again, if you just check out their catalog, see if there's anything you like. And if you want to get anything, you can use promo code FILMROOM10 at that link in the description below. Again, that is hawthorne.co. And promo code FILMROOM10 will get you a 10% discount on your order. Just take the quiz. If there's something you like, great. If there's nothing you like, that's fine too. But if you decide to buy anything, that promo code will get you a nice little discount. So thank you to Hawthorne for sponsoring. Thank you to all of you for watching this entire video. You're one of the few that are left at this point, statistically speaking, so thank you. I'll see you back here in a couple days for part 2 of this Panthers defense film room, and until then, cheers.